Velkan's scales shimmered with pride as his ship approached the moon of Harak 7th. He had fought in 47 battles across 12 star systems. He had never lost. He had never felt fear. Fear was for the weak, for those who did not understand the science of war. Velkan understood it perfectly. The command center buzzed with activity when he entered. Officers from 6 different species worked at their stations. They all looked tired. The war against the Vryn swarm had been going badly for 3 months. The insect-like Vryn kept coming in endless waves. They did not fear death. They did not retreat. They simply attacked until nothing remained. "Commander Velkan reporting for duty," he announced. His voice carried authority. His scales shifted to deep blue, the Severian color of confidence. The base commander, a 4-armed Teklian named Vorsul, looked relieved. "Thank the stars you're here. We've lost 30% of our forces. The Vryn are everywhere. We can barely hold our perimeter." Velkan studied the tactical display. The situation was bad, but not impossible. He had seen worse. "Increase patrols along Sector 7. Reinforce the eastern bunkers. Rotate troops every 6 hours to prevent fatigue. Simple." Vorsul nodded gratefully. "We have reinforcements arriving today. A human unit." Velkan's scales flickered with curiosity. "Humans? I have heard of them. New to the Galactic Council, yes?" "Very new. Only 20 years since first contact. But the Council thought we could use every soldier we can get." Velkan had seen the intelligence reports about humans. They came from a planet called Earth, a world with higher gravity than most civilized planets, a world with dangerous weather and aggressive wildlife. The reports called it a death world, though Velkan thought that was dramatic. Every species faced challenges on their home planet. The humans were supposedly good fighters, but then again, every species thought they were good fighters until they met the Severians. Velkan's people had been warriors for 10,000 years. They had reflexes 3 times faster than most species. Their scales could deflect small arms fire. They had won wars when they were still using primitive weapons. These humans would be adequate support troops, nothing more. The transport ship landed 2 hours later. Velkan went to the landing pad with his command squad. He wanted to see these humans for himself. The ramp lowered. Velkan's first thought was how small they were. Most stood barely taller than his chest, and he was not particularly tall for a Sivarian. They wore simple gray and black uniforms. Their skin had no scales, no armor plating, no natural protection. They looked soft, fragile. A human with short black hair walked forward. He moved with casual confidence. "Captain Jiho, Crimson Talon Special Operations, reporting as ordered. I am Commander Velkan. I lead all military operations on this moon." Velkan studied the captain. The human's eyes were dark and calm, too calm. "You understand you will be under my command?" "Understood, Commander." Jiho's voice was polite but not submissive. Behind Jiho, the other humans filed out. A female with her hair tied back stood beside the captain. She carried a long rifle that seemed too big for her frame. Her eyes scanned the base with professional efficiency. "My second-in-command, Lieutenant Hana," Jiho said. Hana nodded respectfully. "Commander." More humans emerged. A stocky male with scarred hands carried equipment marked with warning symbols. A tall female moved with unusual grace, her eyes constantly moving. A young-looking male had medical insignia on his uniform, but also carried weapons. Another male carried a weapon so massive that even Velkan would struggle with its weight, yet the human held it easily. "This is my squad," Jiho continued. "Doyon handles demolitions. Yuna is our sniper. Taiyang is our medic. Junho has heavy weapons. Sora specializes in infiltration." Velkan's scales rippled with skepticism. "Your medic carries weapons?" "All humans are trained for combat," Taeyang said simply. I just also know how to heal. Strange. In Severian culture, medics stayed away from fighting. They were too valuable to risk. But perhaps human medics were less skilled, more disposable. Follow me, Velkan said. I will show you to your quarters. Tomorrow we will discuss tactics. The briefing room was packed the next morning. Coalition officers from multiple species gathered around the holographic display. Velkan stood at the head of the table, his scales confident blue. The Vrin control everything beyond our perimeter, he explained, highlighting the map. They attack in waves, testing our defenses. We must hold our positions and wait for reinforcements from the fleet. Several officers nodded. This was standard defensive doctrine. Safe. Proven. With respect, Commander, Jiho said quietly, I have a different suggestion. Velkan's scales flickered with annoyance. Yes? We should attack tonight. A deep raid into Vrin territory. Hit their staging areas before they can launch their next assault. The room went silent. Several officers' faces showed shock. One actually laughed. Attack? At night? Velkan's scales shifted toward dark purple, the color of disbelief. No species can fight effectively in darkness. Night is when we rest, when we fortify our defenses. Jiho's expression did not change. Humans can fight at night, Commander. Actually, we prefer it. That is impossible. Even with night vision equipment, combat effectiveness drops by... We evolved as nocturnal hunters, Hana interrupted softly. Darkness is when humans hunt. Velkan looked at her. Really looked at her. There was something in her eyes. Something that made his scales prickle uncomfortably. It was gone in an instant, replaced by professional calm. Your proposal is too risky, Velkan said firmly. We will maintain defensive positions. Jiho did not argue. He simply nodded. As you command, sir. The meeting ended. As the officers filed out, Velkan noticed the humans gathering in a corner. They spoke in low voices. Jiho was giving them orders. They listened with intense focus, then nodded and dispersed. What were they planning? That evening, Velkan reviewed intelligence reports in his quarters. The humans had requested permission for a reconnaissance patrol that night. Velkan had approved it. Let them scout the perimeter. It would keep them busy and give them something useful to do. But something bothered him. The way Hana had looked at him. The casual way Junho carried that massive weapon. The strange calmness in all their eyes. His communication device buzzed. It was Vorsul. Commander, the humans are preparing to depart. They're carrying enough ammunition for a major engagement. Velkan's scales shifted to orange, the color of concern. For a reconnaissance patrol? That's what I thought was strange. Should I stop them? Velkan considered. Then his warrior's pride made the decision. No. I will accompany them with my command squad. I want to see these humans in action. Perhaps we will learn something useful. Are you sure that's wise? I have fought in 47 battles, old friend. I can handle one night patrol with a squad of newcomers. Velkan had no idea how wrong he was. As he gathered his squad and headed to the armory, his scales showed confident blue. By the end of the night, they would be pure white, the color of fear. The sun set over Harak 7 quickly. The moon had short days, only 14 hours of light before darkness consumed everything. Velkan watched the humans prepare with growing curiosity. They moved differently now. During the day, they had seemed casual, almost relaxed. Now, as darkness fell, something changed. Their movements became precise, efficient. Their casual conversations stopped. They checked their weapons with quiet intensity. It reminded Velkan of how predators behaved before a hunt. The thought made his scales ripple uncomfortably. Ready when you are? Commander, Jiho said. He had painted black stripes on his face. All the humans had. It made them harder to see in the darkness. "We will observe only," Velkan said firmly. "My squad and I will follow and provide support if needed." "Understood." Jiho turned to his team. "Standard night operations. Yuna, take point. Sora, shadow right. Junho, rear guard. Everyone else, tight formation." The humans moved out. Velkan and his 5 Sivarian warriors followed. They activated their night vision equipment. The world turned green and bright. Velkan could see clearly for hundreds of meters, but the humans did not use night vision. They just walked into the darkness as if they could see perfectly. "Should we tell them to activate their equipment?" one of Velkan's squad asked. "Let us see what they do," Velkan replied. He was curious now. Perhaps humans had natural night vision. Some species did. They traveled for 30 minutes in silence. The humans moved through the rocky terrain without hesitation. They did not stumble. They did not slow down. They moved like they owned the darkness. Velkan watched them through his night vision. Yuna, the sniper, was far ahead. She moved from cover to cover with fluid grace. Behind her, Jiho kept his weapon ready, his head turning constantly. He was reading the terrain, looking for threats. Sora, the infiltration specialist, was harder to track. She kept disappearing from Velkan's sensors. One moment she was there, the next she was gone. How was she doing that? Even thermal imaging could not find her consistently. "Commander," one of his warriors whispered urgently. "I'm detecting Vryn signatures ahead. Approximately 30 contacts. Should we warn the humans?" Velkan was about to respond when Jiho's voice came through the communication channel. "Contact, 30 meters northeast. Vryn patrol, approximately 30 warriors. We're engaging." Velkan's scales flashed orange. "Negative. Fall back. Those numbers are impossible." "We've got this, Commander. Stay back and watch." Stay back. The arrogance. Velkan prepared to order his squad to intervene. Then he stopped. He wanted to see what these humans would do. When they failed, it would teach them humility. He would rescue them and show them how real warriors fought. Through his night vision, Velkan watched the Vryn patrol approach. The insect-like creatures were large, nearly 3 meters tall. Their razor-sharp claws could tear through armor. Their compound eyes could see in multiple spectrums. They were dangerous, efficient killers, 30 of them against 7 humans. This would be a massacre. Jiho's hand moved in a signal. The humans spread out instantly, taking positions Velkan had not even noticed were advantageous. How had they known? The first shot came from Yuna. Velkan's sensors tracked the bullet's path. 800 meters, complete darkness, moving target. The Vryn warrior's head exploded. Before the others could react, Yuna fired again, and again, and again. 4 shots in 3 seconds, 4 dead Vryn. The patrol scattered, seeking cover. They were fast, but the humans were faster. Junho's massive weapon roared to life. It was not just loud. It was a sound that Velkan felt in his bones. The weapon fired projectiles that glowed with heat. When they hit the Vryn, they did not just kill them. They erased them. Armor, carapace, everything just disappeared in bursts of light and heat. Doyun threw something small. It bounced once, twice. Then the world turned white. The explosion was not large, but it was precisely placed. 3 Vryn died instantly. 2 more were thrown backward, disoriented. Taeyang, the medic, shot one of them before it could recover. Then he shot the other. His movements were calm, professional, like this was just another day. Velkan's scales began to change color. The confident blue was fading. White was creeping in at the edges. The Vryn were panicking now. They had lost half their number in less than 30 seconds. They tried to retreat. They tried to regroup. Nothing worked. Sora appeared behind them. She had somehow gotten past the entire patrol. Velkan had not seen her move. His sensors had not tracked her. She was just suddenly there, behind the enemy. 5 Vryn were already dead before anyone realized she was there. A Vryn warrior charged at Doyen. Its claws were extended, ready to tear the human apart. The creature was massive compared to the stocky human. It was faster, stronger. Doyen smiled. He actually smiled. Then he moved. He was not as fast as the Vryn, but he knew exactly where it would attack. He sidestepped the claws, grabbed the creature's arm, and used its own momentum to throw it to the ground. While it was falling, he shot it 3 times. The Vryn died. Doyen was bleeding from a cut on his shoulder. The claws had grazed him, but he was still smiling. He seemed more alive now, more focused. What kind of species smiled when they got hurt? Jiho moved through the chaos like he could predict the future. A Vryn charged from his left. He was already turning, already firing. The creature died mid-leap. Another attacked from above. Jiho rolled, came up shooting, killed it before it landed. He was not reacting to threats. He was predicting them. The last 3 Vryn tried to flee. Yuna killed 2 of them before they made it 10 meters. The third got farther. It almost reached cover. Junho's weapon spoke once more. The Vryn became light and heat and nothing. Silence fell over the battlefield. Velkan's chronometer showed that 97 seconds had passed since the first shot. 97 seconds. 30 Vryn warriors dead. The humans had 0 casualties except for Doyen's minor scratch. Velkan looked down at his hands. They were shaking. His scales had turned completely white. Pure white. He had not seen this color on himself in his entire life. It was the Severian color of primal fear. The humans regrouped. They checked their ammunition. They reloaded weapons. They acted like nothing unusual had happened. Hana walked over to where Velkan stood frozen. "Captain, are you all right? You look pale." She paused, studying his white scales. "Is that normal?" She did not understand. She thought this was normal. To her, slaughtering 30 enemies in less than 2 minutes was just routine. Velkan's voice failed him. He tried again. "I am fine." Taeyang approached Doyun, examined his shoulder. "Just a scratch. Hold still." He sprayed something on the wound. Doyun did not even flinch. Taeyang bandaged it quickly, efficiently. Then he patted Doyun on the back. "Try to dodge better next time?" Doyun laughed. "Where's the fun in that?" They were joking. They had just survived impossible odds, and they were joking. Jiho came over to Velkan. "Commander, we're going to push deeper into their territory. We can hit 2 more patrols before they realize what's happening. You're welcome to keep observing." Velkan wanted to say no. He wanted to order them back to base. He wanted to run back to base himself. But his pride would not let him show weakness. Not in front of subordinates. Not in front of these strange, terrifying humans. "Lead the way," he managed to say. Jiho nodded and turned back to his squad. "Moving out. Yuna, find us more targets." The humans disappeared into the darkness again. Velkan followed on trembling legs. His scales remained white. Behind him, his own warriors looked at each other with wide eyes. They had seen what Velkan had seen. They had felt what he felt. For the first time in Severian military history, an entire squad of their elite warriors had encountered something they could not explain with logic or training. They had encountered genuine fear, and the night was still young. Velkan did not sleep that night. He sat in his quarters, watching the combat footage over and over. His scales slowly shifted from white back to blue, but they kept flickering. His body could not decide what to feel. The humans had destroyed 3 more Vryn patrols before returning to base. Each fight had been the same: quick, brutal, efficient. The humans took no serious injuries. The Vryn took no survivors. At dawn, Velkan went to the medical bay. He found Taeyang there, treating wounded coalition soldiers. The young human worked with steady hands, moving between patients of different species. He seemed to know exactly how to treat each one. A Teklian soldier was screaming. His arm was badly burned. Tai Yang spoke soothingly while he worked. I know it hurts. I'm going to give you something for the pain. Stay still. His hands moved quickly, injecting medication, cleaning the wound, applying synthetic skin. The Teklian calmed down. You are skilled, human. Thank you. Tai Yang smiled gently. You'll be fine. Back on duty in 3 days. Velkan watched from the doorway. This was the same person who had killed 4 Vryn warriors in hand-to-hand combat last night. The same person who had joked about getting wounded. Now he was tender and caring with patience. When Tai Yang finished, Velkan approached. May I speak with you? Of course, Commander. Tai Yang washed his hands and gestured to a quiet corner. What can I help you with? Last night, Velkan began, you fought like a warrior, yet you are a medic. I do not understand. Tai Yang sat down on a supply crate. On Earth, all humans learn to fight. It's part of our basic education. We all train in combat skills, weapons, survival. I just chose to also study medicine. But why? Medics should not fight. They are too valuable. Humans see it differently. Every one of us should be able to protect ourselves and others. The galaxy is dangerous. We learned that when we were still on our home world. Tai Yang paused. Earth is what you call a death world. Everything there tried to kill us. The animals, the weather, diseases, even the plants were dangerous. Velkan's scales rippled with interest. Tell me about Earth. Tai Yang's eyes became distant, remembering. Our planet has extreme weather. Hurricanes that destroy entire cities. Earthquakes that split the ground open. Volcanoes that cover the sky with ash. We have deserts where you can die from heat in hours. We have frozen lands where you can die from cold in minutes. And the wildlife? Our ancestors were prey, Commander, not predators. We were hunted by animals with bigger teeth, sharper claws, stronger bodies. We survived by being smart, by working together, and by never ever giving up. Velkan thought about this. But you became predators? Yes. We learned to hunt. We developed tools, weapons. We became so good at hunting that we drove many species to extinction. Tai Yang's voice was sad. We had to learn limits. We had to learn to control ourselves. What do you mean? Tai Yang looked directly at Velkan. Commander, last night you saw us fight, but we were holding back. A lot. Velkan's scales flashed white for a moment. Holding back? Humans have emergency systems in our bodies. When we are in real danger, our bodies release chemicals. Adrenaline, endorphins. These chemicals make us stronger, faster. They let us ignore pain. They let us keep fighting even when we are badly wounded. How much stronger? It varies, but a human mother once lifted a vehicle to save her child. The vehicle weighed more than she could normally lift by 3 times. Velkan stared at him. That is impossible. It happened. It's been documented many times. We call it hysterical strength. Our bodies have limits for safety, but in emergencies, those limits disappear. Tai Yang stood up. We evolved this way. When a predator was chasing our ancestors, the ones who could run faster, fight harder, ignore pain, they survived. The others died. After millions of years, all humans carry this ability. Velkan felt his scales shifting colors rapidly. You are all like this? Every human, even children have it, though we train them to control it. Control. That word again. Velkan left the medical bay with more questions than answers. He went looking for Jiho and found him in the training area. The human captain was exercising, running on a machine. He had been running for over an hour at a steady pace. Commander, Jiho said, not stopping. What can I do for you? How long can you run like that? Like this? Maybe 6 or 7 more hours before I need to rest. Velkan's scales shifted to purple, the color of disbelief. That is not possible. No species can maintain physical activity for that long. Jiho smiled. It was not a kind smile. Humans evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We call it persistence hunting. Our ancestors would track a wounded animal for days, sometimes weeks. The animal would run. We would walk. It would run again. We would walk again. Eventually, it would be too tired to run anymore. Then we would kill it. Days? Weeks? Velkan sat down heavily. Without stopping? We rested at night, but we never lost the trail. Humans are very good at tracking, and we never give up. Jiho slowed the machine and stopped. He was barely breathing hard. We're endurance predators, Commander. We're not the fastest. We're not the strongest, but we keep going long after everything else stops. Velkan thought about the implications. That is why you fight the way you do. You assume you will outlast your enemy. Exactly. Jiho grabbed a towel and wiped his face. But there's more to it than physical endurance. Humans spent 200,000 years learning to kill each other. What? We fought wars, Commander. Not against other species, against ourselves. For most of our history, humans killed other humans. We got very, very good at it. Jiho's voice was matter of fact, not proud. We invented weapons specifically designed to kill people who looked just like us. We studied tactics and strategies. We learned psychology, how to break enemy morale. We created entire sciences around warfare. Velkan's mind reeled. The Severians fought other species, yes. But fighting your own kind? Why? Resources, territory, religion, politics, sometimes just because we hated each other. Jiho sat down across from Velkan. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. We invented nuclear weapons, bombs that could destroy entire cities. We built enough of them to wipe out all life on Earth. And we came very close to using them. But you did not. No. We learned. Eventually, we realized that we were our own worst enemy. Jiho leaned forward. That's the thing about humans, Commander. We make terrible mistakes, but we learn from them. We adapt. We change. And now you fight for others, Velkan said slowly. Now we fight to protect. We saw what happens when violence has no limits. We created rules for warfare, laws. We call them the Geneva Conventions. Rules about how to treat prisoners, how to avoid civilian casualties, how to fight with honor, even when fighting for survival. Velkan felt something click in his mind. You created rules to limit yourselves. Yes, because we know what we're capable of without them. Jiho stood up. Humans are good at killing, Commander. Better than any species we've met. That's exactly why we choose to be good at protecting instead. Later that evening, Velkan found Hana on the observation deck. She was looking at the stars, her rifle beside her. May I join you? Velkan asked. Please. Hana gestured to the space beside her. They stood in silence for a while. Then Velkan asked the question that had been bothering him. Do you ever feel fear? Hana smiled. Every single battle. But you fought so calmly, so efficiently. Fear keeps you alive, Commander. The trick is not to let it control you. She looked at him. Our ancestors who felt no fear. They died young. They made stupid mistakes. The ones who felt fear but kept thinking clearly, they survived. They became us. So fear is strength. Fear is information. It tells you that you're in danger. But courage is what you do with that information. Hana picked up her rifle, checked it automatically. I'm afraid every time I go into battle. I'm afraid I'll make a mistake. Afraid I'll let my team down. Afraid I'll die. But I trust my training. I trust my team. And I fight anyway. Velkan looked at his hands. His scales were blue now, with hints of white. I have never felt fear before 3 days ago. I thought I was brave. You were never tested, Hana said gently. Real bravery is being terrified and doing your duty anyway. You came with us last night even though you were afraid. That took courage. I felt like a coward. You're not a coward, Commander. You're learning what all humans know. Fear doesn't make you weak. Fear makes you careful. Strength is what you do despite the fear. Velkan stood there, processing her words. His entire understanding of bravery was changing. The Severians thought courage meant feeling no fear. The humans understood that courage meant mastering fear. Your people are frightening, he said finally. Hana nodded. We know. That's why we try so hard to be kind. The alarms woke everyone before dawn. Velkan rushed to the command center, his scales already shifting to combat-ready orange. Vorsel met him at the door. It's bad. Really bad. The Vryn are launching everything they have. Our sensors count 5,000 warriors approaching from 3 directions. 5,000. Velkan looked at the tactical display and felt his scales go pale. The base had only 200 defenders. His tactical computer calculated the odds. 98% chance of total defeat. We need to evacuate, Vorsel said. Get as many people out as we can before— No! The voice came from behind them. Jiho stood in the doorway, Hana beside him. We can hold them. Vorsel's 4 arms waved in agitation. Captain, with respect, this is suicide. 5,000 against 200? The numbers are impossible. Numbers don't win battles, Jiho said calmly. He walked to the display and studied it. His eyes moved quickly, reading the terrain, the approach vectors, the timing. Commander Velkan, I request full tactical authority for this engagement. Every officer in the room turned to look at Velkan. This was his command, his responsibility. If he gave authority to Jiho and they failed, his career was over, his reputation destroyed. But he had seen what humans could do in the darkness. Granted, Velkan said. His scales were white and orange, fear and combat readiness mixed together. What do you need? Jiho's expression did not change, but his eyes brightened slightly. Thank you, Commander. First, I need Doyen to have access to all our explosives. All of them. That could— All of them, Jiho repeated. He turned to Hana. Get Yuna to the high tower. Best sightlines across the entire kill zone. Hana nodded and left immediately. Sora, I need you to do what you do best. Jiho touched the display, marking locations deep in Vryn territory. These are their artillery positions. Make them useless. Sora smiled. It was not a nice smile. How useless? Completely. She was gone before anyone could blink. Jiho turned back to the map. His fingers moved across the display, marking positions, creating firing lanes, designating fallback points. Commander Velkan, I need your best warriors here, here, and here. They'll anchor our defense while we maneuver. Velkan watched Jiho work. The human was not defending. He was building a trap, using the terrain, the timing, the enemy's own momentum against them. You are not trying to hold them off, Velkan said slowly. You are trying to destroy them. Yes. Jiho met his eyes. The Vryn think in numbers. They believe they can overwhelm us. We're going to teach them that numbers mean nothing without tactics. The next 2 hours were chaos. Doyen placed explosives everywhere. Not just at choke points. He was creating psychological weapons, devices that would produce sound and light, designed to disorient and terrify. Junho positioned his massive weapon with careful thought. He did not aim it at the main approach. He aimed it at where the enemy would retreat to when they panicked. Yuna climbed to the highest point on the base. From there, she could see everything. Velkan watched her set up her rifle. She moved with quiet precision, calculating angles, testing wind speed, adjusting her scope. Can you really shoot from this distance? He asked. Reliably? Up to about 1,200 meters in these conditions. She did not look at him. Still working. But I can hit targets further out, just less reliably. 1,200 meters. Velkan's best snipers could manage 600 on a good day. Taiyang set up a field hospital in the most protected bunker, but he also kept his weapons close. Velkan noticed that the medic's hands were absolutely steady, no fear, no hesitation. "Are you not afraid?" Velkan asked him. "Terrified," Taiyang said simply. "But fear is just information. It tells me to be careful, to make sure I'm ready." He finished organizing medical supplies. "I'm ready." The Vryn attacked at dawn. They came in a massive wave, exactly as predicted. The ground shook with their approach. 5,000 warriors all charging at once. Velkan felt fear trying to overwhelm him. His scales went pure white. His hands shook. Then Jiho's voice came over the communication channel, calm, steady. "All positions, hold fire, wait for my mark." The Vryn got closer, closer. They were almost at the defensive perimeter. "Now," Jiho said quietly. Doyun's explosives detonated, not all at once, in sequence, designed to herd the Vryn into specific paths. The sounds were deafening, the lights blinding. The Vryn instinctively moved away from the chaos, pushing together, crowding into the exact positions Jiho wanted. Yuna fired. A Vryn commander fell dead. She fired again. Another commander. The Vryn force began losing coordination. Junho's weapon spoke. The massive gun roared with a sound that made Velkan's bones vibrate. Each shot erased multiple Vryn. The creatures tried to scatter, but they were packed too tightly together. The coalition forces opened fire from protected positions. The Vryn charged at them, trying to close distance. More explosives detonated, channeling them away from the bunkers into open ground, into the perfect killing field. The battle raged for 2 hours. The Vryn kept coming. They were brave. They were determined. But Jiho had predicted every move. When the Vryn tried to flank left, they found mines. When they tried to flank right, Yuna cut down their leaders before they could organize. When they tried to charge straight ahead, Junho's weapon turned them to vapor. Then something went wrong. A Vryn assault team broke through the western perimeter. 30 warriors heading straight for the main bunker. If they reached it, the entire defense would collapse. Junho was there alone. His massive weapon was out of ammunition. He was reloading when they came around the corner. Velkan watched on the monitors, frozen in horror. The Vryn would tear Junho apart, but Junho did not run. He dropped the weapon, drew his pistol, and stood his ground. The Vryn crashed into him like a wave. Claws slashed. Junho took a hit that tore open his armor. Blood sprayed. He should have gone down. He did not. He shot the first Vryn in the face, blocked a claw strike with his armored forearm, shot another, kicked a third so hard it flew backward into 2 others. He was wounded, badly, but he kept fighting. Taiyang came running. The medic was not supposed to leave his station, but when he saw Junho surrounded, he charged in anyway. He had a medical kit in one hand and a pistol in the other. Taiyang shot 2 Vryn while running, slid under a claw swipe. Came up next to Junho. "You're bleeding!" "I noticed!" Junho shot another Vryn. "Hold still!" Taiyang sprayed something on Junho's wound while shooting at enemies with his other hand. One hand healing, one hand killing. The 2 humans fought back to back. Junho ran out of ammunition. He started using his fists. Each punch broke carapace. Each kick shattered limbs. Taiyang's pistol ran dry. He pulled out a knife, started fighting in close combat with moves that were graceful and deadly. More coalition troops arrived to help. Together they pushed the Vryn back. All 30 invaders died. Junho collapsed. Taiyang caught him. "Got you. You're okay. You're okay." "That hurt," Junho muttered. "I bet it did. You've got a hole in your side." "Can you fix it?" "Yes, but you're going to hate the recovery." Junho actually laughed. Blood on his teeth, hole in his armor, surrounded by dead enemies, and he laughed. Velkan watched all of this and felt something change inside him. These humans were not just warriors, they were something else, something the galaxy had never seen before. The battle turned after that. The Vryn, seeing their assault team destroyed, began to falter. Jiho sensed it immediately. "All units advance!" His voice was sharp. "Push them back!" The coalition forces, inspired by the humans' courage, surged forward. The Vryn began to retreat. Their discipline broke. They ran. That was when Sora's work became apparent. The Vryn artillery that should have covered their retreat was silent, destroyed, sabotaged from within. Without artillery support, the Vryn retreat became a rout. Yuna picked off stragglers. Doyen's mines caught the ones trying to flee through the valleys. By midday, it was over. 5,000 Vryn had attacked. Less than 1,000 escaped. The coalition had taken casualties. 89 dead out of 160 defenders. But they had survived. They had won. The human casualties were proportionally higher, 40 humans, 3 dead, 12 wounded, but they had been at the most dangerous positions. They had taken the hardest fights, and they had held. Velkan found Jiho supervising the cleanup. The captain's uniform was torn and dirty. He had a bandage on his arm. "That was impossible," Velkan said. "No," Jiho replied. "It was just very difficult." "Your plan worked perfectly. How did you predict everything?" Jiho smiled tiredly. "Humans have been fighting for a very long time, Commander. We know how battles flow, how psychology works, how to use fear as a weapon." He paused. "The Vryn are brave, but they don't understand tactics. They just attack. That makes them predictable." Velkan looked at his own hands. His scales were blue now, not the uncertain blue of before, a stronger blue. He had been afraid. He had fought anyway. He had learned what the humans meant by courage. "Thank you," he said quietly. Jiho nodded. "You trusted us. That took courage, too." The memorial service was held 3 days later. Velkan had attended many such ceremonies in his long military career, but this one was different. The humans gathered around 3 simple markers, their 3 dead. They stood in formation, silent and still. No one cried. No one spoke. They simply stood there, honoring their fallen. Then Jiho stepped forward. "Minho believed in protecting others. He died defending a bunker full of wounded. He saved 17 lives." Jiho's voice was steady but quiet. "Yunji was the fastest runner in our unit. She carried messages through enemy fire when communications failed. She made sure everyone knew the plan." He paused. "Dae-hyun loved to cook. He said that feeding people was another way of protecting them. He died bringing supplies to trapped soldiers. Each name, each story. The humans remembered their dead not as casualties, but as people." After the ceremony, Velkan approached Hana. She was standing alone, looking at the markers. "I am sorry for your losses," he said. "Thank you, Commander." Hana's voice was sad, but controlled. "They died doing what they believed in, protecting others. It's what we all signed up for. Do you ever regret it? Choosing this life?" Hana thought about it. "Sometimes. When friends die. When I'm scared. When I wonder if I'm making a difference." She looked at him. "But then I remember why we fight. Not for glory, not for conquest. We fight so others don't have to, so families can be safe, so children can grow up without fear." "On my world," Velkan said slowly, "we fight for honor, for reputation, for our clan's glory. And now? Now I wonder if we have been fighting for the wrong reasons." Hana smiled gently. "Every species finds its own path, Commander. You're learning. That's what matters." Later that week, Velkan found himself in the medical bay again. Junho was recovering from his injuries. The massive human was sitting up in bed, looking frustrated. "They say I cannot fight for another month," he complained when he saw Velkan. "A month?" The war will not wait for me to heal. You almost died, Velkan pointed out. Almost only counts in some things. Junho grinned. Besides, Taeyang fixed me. I am fine. Taeyang, who was checking another patient nearby, called over. You have a hole in your torso that I had to fill with synthetic tissue. You are not fine. You are stubborn. Same thing. Velkan sat down beside the bed. Why did you not retreat? When the Vryn came, you could have fallen back to a safer position. Junho's expression became serious. If I retreat, they reach the bunker. The bunker has wounded soldiers, civilians, people who cannot fight. So I do not retreat. You almost died. Yes, but they did not. Junho shrugged his massive shoulders, then winced. That is the job, Commander. Put yourself between danger and those who need protecting. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you die. But you do it anyway. Velkan thought about this. You are afraid of dying? Terrified. Every time. Junho's voice was matter-of-fact. But I am more afraid of failing people who trust me. More afraid of being a coward. More afraid of living with the knowledge that I ran when I should have stood. So fear drives you to be brave? Yes, exactly that. Junho smiled. You are learning, Commander. The days passed. The Vryn did not attack again. Intelligence reports suggested they had retreated to regroup. The coalition had breathing room. Jiho prepared his unit to depart. Their mission on Harak 7th was complete. They were needed elsewhere. Velkan found the captain packing equipment. May I speak with you? Of course. Jiho continued working while he talked. What's on your mind? I have been thinking about what makes humans so effective in combat. I thought it was your tactics, your weapons, your training. Velkan paused. But it is none of those things. No. It is your mindset. You are afraid, but you fight anyway. You are individually weak, but you work together perfectly. You could be ruthless killers, but you choose to be protectors. Velkan's scales shifted through several colors. You are dangerous because you choose to control that danger. Jiho stopped packing and looked at him. That's very insightful, Commander. I want to learn to fight the way you fight, not your techniques, your philosophy, your way of thinking about combat and courage. Jiho smiled. You already started learning. The moment you admitted you were afraid, the moment you fought anyway, that's the first step. He reached into his pack and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. I was going to give this to you anyway. A gift. Velkan unwrapped it. Inside was a knife. Simple, functional, but beautifully made. Human letters were engraved on the blade. What does it say? Velkan asked. Peace through superior firepower, Jiho translated. It's an old human saying, a joke, really, but it carries truth. I do not understand. Humans are good at violence, very good. We have studied it, perfected it. We have weapons that could destroy planets. Jiho's expression was serious. That is exactly why we value peace so much. We know what war costs. We know what we are capable of. So we fight to protect peace, not to glorify war. Velkan held the knife carefully. You fight so others do not have to. Now you understand. Jiho smiled. Keep the knife. Remember what it means. Strength should serve peace, not the other way around. The human transport prepared to leave the next morning. The entire base turned out to see them off. Coalition soldiers from 6 species stood at attention. Many had tears in their eyes. The humans had saved them all. Hana approached Velkan last. Take care of yourself, Commander. Keep learning. Keep growing. I will. Velkan's scales were a steady blue now, with streaks of gold, the Sevarian color of respect. You taught me something important. What's that? That courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is purpose stronger than fear. Hana smiled. You're going to do great things, Commander. I can tell. The humans boarded their transport. The ramp closed. The ship lifted off. Velkan watched it go and felt different than he had 2 weeks ago. He was still a warrior, still a commander. But now he understood what he was fighting for. That evening, he sat in his quarters and recorded a message to the Galactic Council. Commander Velkan, final report on human combat effectiveness. He paused, organizing his thoughts. Initial assessment. Humans are individually weaker than most species. They have no natural armor, no enhanced strength, no telepathic abilities. Revised assessment. Humans are the most effective combat species I have encountered in 47 battles across 12 systems. Recommendation, full integration into coalition military structure at the highest levels. He paused again. Personal note. I encountered genuine fear while fighting alongside humans. Not fear of them, though they are terrifying when they wish to be. I encountered the same fear they carry with them into every battle. The fear of death, of failure, of letting others down. The difference is that humans have learned to master this fear, to use it, to fight because of it, not despite it. They taught me that true warriors are not those who feel no fear. True warriors are those who feel fear and fight anyway. Request, permanent assignment to human combat units for additional training and observation. He ended the recording and sent it. 6 months later, Velkan stood on the bridge of a coalition warship, preparing for another battle. Beside him stood Jiho, now promoted to major. They were commanding a joint Severian human strike force. "Ready, Commander?" Jiho asked. Velkan looked at his hands. His scales showed white streaks mixed with blue, fear and determination together. He had learned that this was not weakness, this was strength. "Ready," he replied. He touched the knife at his belt, the human knife that reminded him what he fought for. The ship entered combat. Velkan felt fear rising, but he also felt purpose. He was protecting others. He was fighting alongside warriors who had taught him what real courage meant. In the darkness between stars, Velkan had found something he never knew he was missing. Not just better tactics, not just better weapons. He had found a better reason to fight. The battle began. Velkan's voice was steady as he gave orders. Beside him, Jiho smiled slightly. "Not bad, Commander," the human said quietly. "Not bad at all." Velkan's scales shifted to bright gold, the color of pride. But not the pride he had felt before, in his victories and his reputation. This was the pride of knowing he was finally fighting for something that mattered. The Vryn would learn what the humans already knew. The coalition forces would learn it too. Monsters did not feel fear, warriors did, and that made all the difference. The war continued. But now Velkan faced it with new understanding. Fear was information, courage was action, and together, humans and Severians would protect the galaxy. One battle at a time, one fear mastered at a time, one life protected at a time. That was the human way. And Velkan had learned to make it his own.